Welcome back to the Bourbon Note, everybody. I'm Ben. Got a 10-year rye banger on the bar. Let's get into it. So on the bar tonight, I've got, bam, this is Whistle Pig Rye, 10-year. And you'll notice that I already have this poured into a glass, and truth be told, that's because I started filming this review already and had to redo it because the camera was all screwed up. So anyway, I've already got this poured. No fancy little video images of the bottle just because, you know, it's a mini bottle and those are hard to shoot. But anyway, 10 years age stated, 100 proof rye whiskey from Whistle Pig. Typically runs around $90 MSRP in my area. And to be honest, as a brand, I don't know much about Whistle Pig. I haven't had too many of their products, but I've had a couple. And I had one, I can't remember what it was, but it was one of their more expensive premium ones that was worth like a couple $100s or something like that. I had it at a bottle tasting, and I remember being pretty underwhelmed by it. However, their regular piggyback 6-year age stated rye, that kind of regular price point shelf or bottle they put out is actually pretty good. So, you know, who knows what to expect here. On the nose so far, it's actually really nice. Very, very light rye spice, but there's actually more sweetness coming out of this than I would have expected. Nice oak and brown sugar along with that rye spice. A little bit of that light zebra cake vanilla that is typically what I get off of rye whiskeys. But yeah, I mean, the oak is definitely noticeable. It's very, very rich on the nose. Yeah, seems like it has a nice balance of the oak and the sweetness on the nose. Let's get into the palate, see what happens. Cheers. A little different than I was expecting. That drink's like it's about 90 proof. There's really not much bite to it. The flavors are interesting. They're a little bit different than the nose. But honestly, I think I'm just gonna have to go right into another sip because on that first one, I don't really know how to describe this one. The oak was noticeable that first sip off of the palate, but I think I was just so thrown for a loop by the fact that it drinks so much less in flavor and bite than the 100 proof would suggest. So I'm just gonna right away get into the second sip here and make sure I give this one a fair shake before I start trashing it. Cheers. So I said before going in for the sip that I want to give it a fair shake before I start trashing it. I probably shouldn't have said trashing it because really what I was getting at is like it was drinking a little underwhelming for the price point, for the proof point, for the age. After taking a couple more sips of it, I will say that this is a smooth whiskey, and it's kind of smooth in the way that I wish it had a little more going on. I should say I just wish what it had going on was a little stronger, a little more in your face, and I thought that at 10 years, 100 proof, it would be. I think all the flavors are there, and they make for a really nice whiskey, but it feels like it's a little thinner than I was expecting / hoping. And so this is good, but I think this is good for somebody who likes their whiskey a little on the smoother side. I think that it drinks flavor-wise, it definitely has a lot going on. It's got, the rye shows up more on the palate than it did on the nose. It's got the nice oak, but I don't know, it's a weird one to explain. It has a very malty flavor to it, and I don't know what the mash bill is on this, but I've got an American single malt that's cask strength that obviously drinks hotter than this one at the cask strength, but I'm noticing similarities in the flavor. I'm talking about it's a Stranahan's single barrel cask strength, and there's just some particular notes between the two of these that I think overlap. There's kind of like a little bit of almost like a juicy fruit gum sort of note, and then a little bit of that kind of apple pear kind of quality that I tend to only get off of single malts, which is weird. I don't usually get that off of ryes or bourbons or high rye bourbons. So it's interesting. Let me go in for another sip here, pick this apart a little bit more. Yeah, that's so malty to me. It's really reminding me, there's so many similarities to a single malt. It's weird, but yeah, so anyway, to kind of rehash it, it's got the apple and pear that I would get off a single malt, a little bit of juicy fruit gum, nice oak note. There is a little bit of spice, but there's surprisingly not a lot of the rye flavor, or at least not as much as I would expect on an actual rye whiskey. And so I think this one, I would say this is for somebody who is maybe kind of intermediate into whiskeys, in the sense that they want something that has good quality and good flavors but isn't overwhelming them on proof. I think that even if 100 proof is typically a little too much, you could get by with this one. It drinks under that, but it does have nice flavors. And so I think this is kind of like for someone who doesn't like a lot of proof, but wants a bit of a premium experience, but wants it at the lower proof point and wants it smooth. I think this is kind of doing what Basil Hayden tries to do. Like, people like look at that one as like, because it comes in a kind of a fancy bottle and it's a little more expensive, but it's 80 proof and it's a little bit weak, and most people, when they get a little further into their bourbon, or in this case rye sort of experience, they get past those and look back on them as kind of just like weak, and why would you ever buy that? This one is not doing that. I think it's doing what maybe a brand like that set out to do, but it's doing it well. I'm not going to be going out and paying $90 for a bottle of this, but it is good quality. And so I think that this is definitely for somebody who wants a good quality whiskey that is not gonna blow their palate out with proof, is the best way I can describe it. I also think that this is not really a bourbon drinker's rye. There's some people say, like certain ryes, if you're into bourbon and you haven't gotten into ryes yet, some of them are kind of have a little bit more of a crossover. I wouldn't say that about this one. I think you have to like ryes, and I don't know if it's just my palate today, but I think you have to kind of like single malts to enjoy this one, because it does have a lot of those crossover notes. So I would say this is definitely an interesting whiskey. I'm gonna enjoy drinking the rest of this and kind of picking this apart a little bit more. But in summary, like I said, for the $90 price point, it's not for me. It's just coming across as a little too light. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know if you guys have had this one, because I do find it interesting, so I'd be interested in hearing your opinions on it. This has been Whistle Pig 10-Year Rye on the Bourbon Note. I'm Ben. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you in the next one.